All right, guys, today in class we talked about solving problems that included finding the whole, finding the part, finding the percent. So again, if we talk about percent, percent is 1 per every 100. Okay, so percent is a comparison to something out of 100, even if it's not itself out of 100. So for example, let's say we had a 20 question test and you got 18 of them right. Well, we didn't have 100 questions on the test. However, you are going to have a percent, or you're going to have a number out of 100 that tells you how well that you did. So the comparison is 18 out of 100, or sorry, 18 out of 20 is the same as 90 out of 100. So that's a 90%. So a percent is just a comparison out of 100. Now, we're going to use two different types of percent proportion to solve problems. The first one we can use is over of equals percent over 100. Now, the second one is part over whole equals a percent over 100. So these are the proportions that we're going to use. And every time we use these, we're going to write them down. We're going to use is over of for problems that are numerical. So it's a problem that reads, what is 8% of 74? So we see those words is and of, so we're going to use this percent proportion. Okay, now when we have a real world problem, those words is and of aren't always there. So sometimes we're going to have to pick out the part, pick out the whole, and set it equal to a percent over 100. Okay, so if you look at 1, 2, and 3, these are all numerical problems. So we're going to be using is over of equals percent over 100 for each of these. Okay, so it says what number is 40% of 120. So the very first step is to set up and show which percent proportion we're using. We're using is over of equals percent over 100. Now, this is a part of your work. This is showing me how you know how to set up your proportion. So you must write this for each question. Okay, that's part of your work to be shown. Okay, so now we have 4 blank spots, and we needed to go up into our problem and fill in what we know and figure out what is missing. So if we look, it says what number is 40% of 120? Okay, so that's my equal sign, it's way over here. But we know that this spot right here is always going to be a 100. Percent's always out of 100, so this spot's always going to be a 100. Okay. 40 is our percent, so I can fill that in. Our percent is always going to go above the 100. Now it says of 120. So of 120, of is in the bottom right here, so that's where I'm going to put my 120. It also says what number is. Since we don't know what number, since that's the question that's being asked, we're going to put a question mark right here. Okay, and now this is set up like a proportion we know how to solve. So we're going to cross multiply 120 times 40, and we get 4,800. We're going to divide out the remaining 100, and we get that our answer is 48. Okay, so let's do that again. Let's look at number 2. It says what percent of $15 is 9? So I see the words is and of, so I know I'm going to use is over of equals percent over 100. And again, the first step for each of these is for you to write that, so you can show me what you're putting in each place. So in this case, we've got our 4 empty spots. I see that this spot right here, it says of 15, so where my of is written, that's where I'm going to put the 15. Okay, is 9, so where my is at is where I'm going to put my 9. Okay, this spot is always a 100 because percent is always out of 100. Now it says what percent? We don't know. That's the question, so that's where we're going to put our question mark. And now we have a percent, or we have a proportion that is set up for us to solve. All we have to do is cross multiply and divide. So we're going to cross multiply 9 times 100 to get 900. And we're going to divide out the remaining 15. And when we do that, we get our answer is 60. Okay, so it's 60%. 9 out of 15 is 60%. Okay, all right, let's take a look at number 3. Number 3 says 80 is 75% of what number? So we see the words is and of. So we're going to use is over of is equal to percent over 100. Again, that's part of our work. We're going to write that every single time. Then we have our 4 blank spots to fill in. We got to go in and pick out what is missing. Okay, we see it says 80 is. So where the is written, that's where I'm going to put my 80. Okay. It says 75%. So my percent is right here. So I'm going to put my 75 over here. It says, we know that percent's always out of 100. So this spot down here is always 100. And it says of what number? Well, we don't know what our of is because it says of what number. That's the question that's being asked. So that's where we're going to put our question mark. And now we have a proportion that we're ready to solve. We can just cross multiply 8 times 100. And this is supposed to be 8,000. And then we're going to divide out our remaining 100, or remaining 75. And we get 106.7. Okay, 106.7. 80 out of 106.7 is 75%.